Lottery is here. NBA time. We know what the deal is. Let's talk about it, man. It's your boy P Kid. We're gonna end up talking about the Chicago Bulls and their chances of landing a top four pick in this draft and their potential of getting the number one pick overall. And some of the implications that this Nikola Vucevic trade has cost the Bulls overall. So let's dive into it real quick because I was really intrigued by this. One, the Chicago Bulls have a 1.8% chance to land the number one pick overall, less than 2%. To put that into perspective, it was less than that. In fact, it was a 1.7% chance for us to get Derrick Rose. Why am I mentioning that? It's not impossible. Is it probable? No, but it ain't impossible, which means that there's a chance. Now, here's the thing: the pick that we had is we actually do give up the rights to Orlando Magic. If it is the overall is the number 11 pick, but if it lands in the top four, we actually retain that pick, and they end up getting our top three protected pick in the 2024 draft. Now, if we suck so much that we end up getting that pick as well, and or not make the playoffs, then there's a good chance that they have just traded away Nikola Vucevic for Wendell Carter and two second round picks, or one second round pick, rather. But at the end of the day, we know that that's not going to happen. The chances are so far against the Chicago Bulls for that to be the possibility, and it's just like, hey, like if there's a 90% or more chance that this does not happen, of us getting the number one pick, of us keeping the top four protect, not there's a 90% chance. So I'm not gonna sit here and give you a 10%, give you a whole video for 10% chance and a snowball's chance in hell rather of this working out. What I am gonna do is we're gonna talk about whether or not Vooch was the right move, and I'm gonna just get this out the gate. Yes, it was the right move. Wagner is a good player. I like him. He's going to develop great, but you have to really look at getting Vooch what that did for the rest of the team. We got Vooch. We ended up getting DeMar, and then I believe we signed Lonzo. None of those pieces come without Vooch. Now you can sit there and say in hindsight, then look, it didn't work out. And hindsight is always 2020. But the moment those trades happened, everyone in the city felt like the Bulls were back. We were back on the map. And when they were all on the floor together for those 30 to 35 games, we all saw it, we all felt it, we felt great. That doesn't change simply because it didn't work out. Because you know what also could not work out? You could have kept those picks, you could have drafted those players, and they don't develop. Just like we drafted Patrick Williams at 4, and we thought he'd be further along now. We didn't know he'd get injured. We didn't know that he'd still have to deal with some moments of being timid on the floor. We didn't know all of that. We thought he'd be further along. It is what it is. Sometimes you have to make a decision, and we have to live with it. And that's what AK did. He made a decision. He's living with it. And by all metrics, the Vooch trade was a good trade. Now, here's the thing: if you don't resign Vooch, what ultimately do you go out and get? Those are the things that you have to be concerned about, not whether or not look at who we gave up or who those could have turned out to. Because again, it works out in that one scenario. And if we watched enough Marvel movies, we know just because that player, just because it worked out in that particular instance or that particular timeline, doesn't mean that we get to go back, rewrite history, and just make all that development happen here. It's not. That's not how it works. It just don't work that way. But let's just have this conversation on the one-off chance that we do actually land this number one overall pick or top four protected pick. What do we do with it? Do you draft another player who would potentially come in and be in the same boat as Patrick Williams, Kobe White, developing players? Does that move your timeline back? I've always been a big component is you can't say development and win in the same sentence. If you're developing, you're not 9 times out of 10, you're not going to win a lot of games. So what direction are you going to go? If you're going to draft another player that you have to develop, he has to get those shots. Patrick Williams is already having a hard time getting those shots. Why would I do that? I don't know any Like no, like why would I do that? And what if it's Wimby? What if we actually land the number one overall pick? What do you do with it? Do you restart or rebuild your whole roster? Like, do you totally just like say skip everything I did? I got Wimby, let's do it. And you have no idea what he's gonna be. He's 7'4", he can shoot, he can do all of those things. I get you. He is a freak of nature, but you have no idea how that kid's gonna turn out. He can't bang in the post for grown men his size because he don't have the body. I don't. I'm sorry. Most of the tape I've seen, he's playing people who are so much smaller than him. That's not the same in the NBA. Yeah, he's had some good games against some NBA players, but over 82, I don't see that happening. Like there's going to be the sharp learning curve here. I mean, that learning curve is going to be big. So at this point, it's like, hey, what happens? Because you paid Zach 215 or whatever we paid him to. You paid him for a reason, and he doesn't sign that contract if he knows we're going full rebuild. And honestly, we shouldn't. But I tell you what I do. This is just again spitballing it a little bit because no one really knows at this point. Everyone is putting up something off the hope and prayer that this works out in our favor, but no one's actually carrying that thought all the way through. I'm going to carry the thought all the way through with you on this video. You trade that pick. You trade that pick. I don't care who Wimby is. I don't care what he's supposed to bring. I don't think that type of player is going to immediately change your entire. I'm not sold on it. I was more sold on Zion before I was sold on Wimby. I really was. And everyone knows I've said it out the gate. That boy's too big. He's too big. He plays too fast. He's too strong. He has too much weight for on him to be playing like that on that frame. And guess what? Everyone thought I was crazy. I mean, it was only played like 40% of his games though. Basketball is simple. It really is. He's too heavy. All the other pros said he was too heavy. Charles Barkley said he was too heavy. And he's a round pound. He's a round mound of rebound. Like, come on now. Like, if Chuck telling you too heavy, put the donuts down. Whatever he's eating, I don't know. I don't think New Orleans is probably the best place for him. But all that being said, though, you have to really look at it. I don't think that Wembanyama is going to bring um, the type of attention that you think he will. I'm not saying he won't be a good player. I'm not saying he's not even a generational talent. I'm saying that what it would take to actually build around him, we're already in the process that we've kind of committed to, and he doesn't bring enough. There's not enough. I haven't seen enough from him for me to say I'm going to restart my whole franchise with that kid. I just don't see it. I could be completely wrong, but guess what? I'll live with that because I'd rather ride with trading that pick, getting the right pieces to fit around Zach, getting the right pieces that if we keep DeMar, keep putting around him, so we have my two wings. I would rather use those picks to retool, get some picks back. Actually, I would rather do that than sit there and take the gamble on overthrowing, overturning my entire roster to fit this kid into that system. I just wouldn't do it. Now there are some other prospects that I think are pretty good, but again, I am also looking at are they going to have the opportunity to get on the floor because Patrick Williams struggled to get in those shots. I know Io has already kind of shown himself. Are we going to have them in their right position? Is Billy going to have that opportunity? I just don't think that you should even be concerned about whether or not we get this pick. I think you should be really concerned about what we can utilize or what AK can use as trade bait for with this pick, because that's the only scenario that it makes sense with the current roster that we have if we're going to sit there and go through a retool, because we're not going through a rebuild. We're not. We haven't. We didn't tank. We're not geared toward that. Nothing about how our season played out even would prepare us for the remote opportunity to even have this win beyond drama that everyone else is going through. Like you have to really look at that. None of that really is the case for us. So I would really want people to be realistic. And I know that's not sexy. That's not the sexiest thing for you to say for me to say this morning. But realistically, no. If we land this pick, we trade that thing. I don't see another Derrick Rose in this draft. I don't see anyone that would. I don't see it. You trade that pick. You go get Zach some help, some real help. You go get DeMar some real help. You get them a real point guard. You use that, and you do that. But those are my thoughts, man. I want to hear your thoughts. I want to hear what you would do if you know, if you're AK, you're playing armchair GM this morning. What would you do with it? I really want to know, because at this point, the Vooch trade has already happened. What happened has happened, and I think it was the right move. And so if you're riding with that and you're going to ride with the roster that you started to put together, and you see that the roster, some of the rosters that he has put together, look at Denver, they're finally coming together. They're in the Western Conference Finals. If you see stuff like that, then maybe there is a method to the madness. Maybe there is a method to all those things that we saw over there. Would you give them the opportunity to do it here? Would you roll with it? I want to hear your thoughts, man. It's your boy P Kid, man. I want you all to have a good day this morning, man. Because guess what? This is all just my opinion. I am a nobody at the end of the day, but we could end up with the number one overall pick, and all heck could break loose. And what a time that would be. What a day. What a day. Man, give me your thoughts, man. Let me hear it in the chat, man. I'll be in there with you. Appreciate you.